next piece of it.
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we recommend to the county council that we deny this amendment to the general plan, and that we continue to keep the general plan as it is current. And my reasonings for that, several-fold. As based in the general plan in the central planning area due to high groundwater table, sudden failure of the Jordanelle Dam, major flood area, limitations of roads, foundations for dwellings, septic tanks, absorptions in the central planning area that have been discussed, and in the southern planning area due to the farming environment, keeping the farming environment the way we have it. And the single greatest constraint that is discussed for my reasoning is the area without a sewer collection system is the use of septic tank drain fields as a means of wastewater disposals due to the high potential of contamination of the groundwater aquifer. And that's by Hansen, Allen, and Lucy in 1994.
Okay, I have a motion on the table. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say no.
No.
No. Okay, motion fails. Is there more discussion on this item? Or do I hear another motion?
I'll make a motion
Go ahead, Commissioner.
that we approve the amendment to the general plan as written, including all the findings and the possible recommendations. So the recommendation that it goes to 650. I'd like to see it go to Spring Creek on the west, but to go to the west of this change of zone is sufficient at this point in time. Reason being is trying to protect. All they have to do is run a sewer line down there, and we got a problem. So that's my motion.
So, could you just restate your motion? Because your reasons aren't really a part of your motion.
Okay, just to approve the general plan amendment here, to move the line to 650 and to the west of that property.
What's your
With the
reasoning?
findings and
You have to state a reason, so what is the reason?
I don't have to state that.
I can't hear either. I'm sorry.
Move closer. I can't yell.
Yeah,
It's my
no, that's
thing.
good. No, that's good.
okay, I have a motion. Is it needed to be any clearer, or did you
No,
get
just
that
to
one?
address the concern. I think if you have questions about his reasoning, ask those. But his motion, he's not moving for his reason. His reasoning.
No, it's
So
what's presented here with the findings.
yeah. So if he has the motion, I just want to make sure I know what I'm voting on. So
I'm voting on it. The amendment. Again, the amendment to change the general plan. Let's see, we have to include all this. I'll do it right now. To move the proposed boundaries to 650 South on the north and to the lot line of, can't really read it here. I think
Central planning.
well, it's to the west. So lot line west of this property, I think it's 4680. Is that the correct parcel?
You're talking about Mr. Probst's parcel?
Yeah.
To include his in the central plan?
Yeah.
Or the southern plan?
Yeah.
Did you want to
Okay.
include the recommendations, staff
Yeah.
recommendations?
Yeah, he did put the recommendations and findings from the staff in that motion. Okay, is there any other discussion? I'll ask for a second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
I vote for that motion that was just in there. So motion carries. We'll move to item number 3.
Sorry, can I get the eyes on that? Is that
There was 4.
okay?
Let's go to item number 3. This one is Megan Probst, the rezone, part of this discussion that we just got through. Luke, turn it over to you.
You bet. So this is a similar application that you guys saw back in October. So it's a rezone from the A20 to the RA5 zone on Mr. Probst's property. So property location, you're very familiar with that.
Not a technicality issue with my motion. I mentioned that we should approve it, but it actually needs to go to
Recommend approval.
recommend approval. So
Correct. We got
that.
Got that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
County Council.
So the property in question for the rezone, A20 to RA5, 20.5 acres, well and septic. And as I mentioned, when the applicant got to county council, the idea of it being in the central planning area had been identified before that and stuff, with the proper process in order to accomplish the rezone. Should they vote for that, they realized that general plan amendment should be accompanied with that, so they recommended that the applicant provide that application. So now, this is where we're at now. So this shows, once again, the central planning area, which, you know, depending on what the county council does regarding this may be changed or may not. So applicant's property within the central planning area though. The existing zoning, so you go from A20 on the 20 acres the application is for, to his other parcel, which is RA5, and like I said, adjacent to that you have the city boundaries with the bypass, future bypass identified the more than likely to go through this area, to the city's cozy zone, which is about 5 units per acre, and there's a development plan and proposed for that. So. Current planning area boundaries, as you saw in the last application, I won't elaborate anymore on those. The staff proposed amendments that you saw in the last, these are the pending general plan amendments, which you guys forwarded with a positive recommendation. And then the adjustments to the property north and then the applicant's property. So these are the same maps that I showed you in the last presentation, showing the shallow groundwater and the other items. The applicants is in the area identified as being in the shallow groundwater. Like I said, these are probably from a pretty high level. Septic suitability, flood inundation area, the applicant's property. This just shows the bypass generally through the area and where that lies in proximity to the applicant's property. So findings for the central planning area, I'll just run through these really quickly, because this may come to the county council being considered in the central planning area. So as a matter of public policy, the central planning area is to be maintained in its historical land use patterns of open meadows, river, and small stream riparian habitat. The use of the area for housing and other types of development is discouraged due to the physical constraints and higher costs of providing governmental services. The area's scenic value contributes significantly to the real value of all land within the Heber Valley area. The preservation of open space in the central planning area will also provide for desired greenbelt separation between Heber City and Midway. The development code should ensure that any development along 113 is well set back from the road and the rural character along this road is maintained. Avoid excessive, this is from the A20 zone itself. You should avoid excessive cost for public services in areas with high physical constraints.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this no longer pertains to this because we just voted that he's now in the southern plan.
So maybe I should look to Doug. My anticipation is that I present the central stuff just in case it got to the county council too. Irrelevant at this point, based on the previous motion.
Well,
I have both.
their motion can be thrown out by the council.
Right, I don't think we've actually done that. We've just said we approve it.
We just send it on.
So recommendation of that.
Recommendation is all in one, so we do need to hear this.
Okay. So.
Yeah, we do, we got it.
So the A20 zone, preserve the beauty of the entry corridors into the county. Protect the underground water supply from pollution. This is the purpose of the A20 zone. Maintain an open rural buffer between Heber City and Midway. The parcel is bordered on the east by both the RA5 zone and the southern planning area. Like you said, you made a motion to make that adjustment, but currently that has not been made, but it's proposed. Concern for approving the rezone could be the expansion of the RA5 zone throughout the Southfields area, and like mentioned, encroaching into the Northfields. And then the county council, as the land use authority on zoning map amendments, has broad discretion on rezone approvals or denials. That being said, we're going to look at it, one more. Any development of the property would require it to go through a small-scale subdivision process. So you've got the general plan amendment, you've got the rezone application, and then if those are granted, they'd have to go through a subdivision approval process as well, independent of these. So findings for the southern planning area. The general plan states the single greatest constraint to development in this area without a sewer collection system is the use of septic drain fields as a means of wastewater disposal due to the high potential of contamination of the groundwater aquifer. Hansen, Allen, and Lewis, their 1994 hydrological water quality study, Wasatch County, Utah, determined that a concentration of septic tank drain fields greater than 1 per 5 acres would result in a violation of the Heber Valley's underground water designation as pristine. Physical constraints that may limit development in this planning area, and then a review of these identified constraints along with a detailed on-site analysis should be required before any development is approved within this planning area. So those would be submitted when you go through the application process. With the lack of a sewer collection system or the potential for a sewer collection system in the next 10 or 15 to 20 years, the disposal of wastewater will be by the use of septic tank drain fields. The development code shall establish the minimum lot size in this planning area is 5 acres. The purpose for the A20 section, going back through those in relation to the southern planning area, avoid excessive costs for public services with areas with high physical constraints. Preserve the beauty of the entry corridors of Wasatch County, protect the underground water supply from pollution, maintain an open rural buffer between Heber City and Midway. The parcel is bordered on the east by the RA5 and the southern planning areas and went through. Concern for approving the rezone could be the expansion of the RA5 zoning throughout the Southfields area. County Council has broad discretion on zone map amendments, approvals or denials. Any development of the property would require it to go through a small-scale subdivision process.
Okay.
So this, back to Kent's comment, this is just a contrast. If you're in the southern planning area, these are the findings. This is what the general plan says about it. It's in the southern or central planning area. This is what the general plan says, and this is how it's conducive to being rezoned RA5. So it's just to compare those two.
Right. Do you have any questions for Luke on this item?
So Luke, you've got up there in the southern plan area, it says it borders the RA5. The applicant has come to us to go into the southern planning zone and make our, instead of bordering, now we're going into it. So I'm reading that and I'm trying to understand, we've got a code, we've got a recommendation, but now we're presented to us is let's go into it. Let's not border it, let's just include it in the southern. So
it'd be annexing, so you've got a pending motion, right? The recommendation to the county council to include it in the southern planning area, which they will act on and either approve or deny, right? So you're considering the rezone in context of that, right now, as it sits right now, it's bordered. But if approved, then you're right, it would be the southern planning area likely, and then the RA5 zones would both be on this property and come into it. But as it stands right now, it just borders it.
I guess that was my issue before, was that we have southern planning, we got central, and we have these in the general plan, but now we're just accepting it. Even though we moved them into the southern planning, if we accept this particular thing, we're accepting that our code is common. We're just accepting it in the southern planning area, from what I've read. Is that right?
I guess I'm missing what your point is on it.
Okay, so the parcel is bordered by the RA zone and parcels in the southern planning zone. That's why the southern planning zone was built.
So this is a comment for me, just stating that currently, as it sits right now, it's still in the central planning area, and it's
right. I understand, but I'm just saying the whole purpose for those areas were for more rural the space between it. By taking the property, moving it into different, or recommending it, and now by us recommending that let's increase the density in those zones. The whole reason the zones were done, it was to create more rural. This is creating more dense.
Which I think, this would no longer be applicable, or that comment, if that was changed to the southern RA5.
It's not actually changing the density, it's just changing the zone designation, which by code has a certain amount of density.
No, you're changing an
An A20 to an RA5.
Which only one home can be on a 20.
Correct.
And 4 can be on a 5, minimum.
4 can be on this property.
No, it's not. RA5 is 5 acre minimum.
Right, that's
So
what
the
I'm saying.
effect
So
is-
20, if you have 20 acres, you could have 4. So
That's
it's
the
more dense.
effect. So the question is, should we change the zoning for this parcel, the effect of which would allow 4 separate lots?
Correct. That's
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
So we're not changing density, we're changing the zoning designation. The density is specified in the code.
No. If we change this, the density could be higher.
On this parcel,
Yes, correct.
we're not changing density, we're changing the zoning designation.
Which could be applied, it could come in and apply for
Okay, so what
5 or 4, but they could also just do 1.
So one of the findings was they have to go to say a subdivision application to do this. So a subdivision is more than one home.
More than one lot.
More than one home. Yeah. So that, I'm just trying, my frustration is that we have these zones, we have these, the planning areas, we have for rural. It's now what we're trying to continue the rural feel of our community. I don't think this, but that's more for our discussion, I'm sorry.
Okay, is there other questions for Luke? Seeing none, thank you, Luke, appreciate it. The applicant want to speak to this item? Have nothing on it? Okay, I'll open this up for public comment. Anyone that wants to speak to this item, please come up and state your name. Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. Commissioners, we'll have a discussion on this item. Go ahead, Mark.
So I struggled with the other one, the first one we did that's related to this, and came down on the side of I'm comfortable and think that was the right move. I'm struggling with this, and I'm probably coming down on the other side personally right now, and open to being persuaded otherwise, that allowing the zoning change that could result in a application for subdivision and therefore 4 homes is not consistent with this idea of keeping the green belt and all that kind of thing. So I'm very conflicted on this. And I'm just trying to say, okay, should we just say no more growth and no, or do we let this guide us? Do we wait? Does the owner wait until there's a new planning commission or council or sentiment about the thing? And I just don't know. I'm interested in what the other commissioners, I was hoping to get more input from the public, but now I'm interested in what the commissioners have to say because I'm very conflicted with it.
I am very positive that making that zone change and that they could have 1 home per 5 acres will protect it much more than leaving it at 20, because a rich developer can come in, buy it from Riley, put in a sewer line that's plenty big enough, and at that point, Heber City's totally in.
That's a good point.
And that's what I'm trying to get across, to protect the people to the south, to protect the people to the west, and to maintain a rural feel. A 5-acre hobby farm is much more rural feeling than Alpine Acres, which is not even a quarter mile away.
Okay,
I'd agree with what Commissioner Smith is saying. I think I stated before that, anything could be engineered, it's just a matter of money. And I think that by making this RA5, that we best protect it because the developer can come in, and if he has money, he can create this into get it annexed into Heber City and get it into subdivision lots. You can drain the property, you can create water lines and sewer lines and whatever else you want. I've seen it hundreds of times in Salt Lake Valley. I think the best way to protect this is to rezone it RA5, not leave it that 20-acre parcel. I think it best protects the residents and meets the goal of keeping this part of the county as rural as we can.
okay, thank you.
I think it's interesting that we can speculate and we can throw out that a sewer line's going in. We can, those are opinions. We're speculating on opinions. Right now, we have a beautiful valley. We have codes. We have amendments to codes. We're setting, by what we did or what we recommended to the county council, we kind of set a precedent that, if your lot and your 20 acres does not fit into a thing, go try and get it amended so it can get changed again. We're recommending to the county council that others should do that, is what we did tonight, what was done tonight. So what we're trying to do now is we're saying, yeah, let's add. I believe it's adding density, because in this proposal it says he has to present a subdivision. Okay, for his kids or not his kids, that is what was in here. And so by us having to do that, that's one of the things that we're proposing. I'm proposing we leave it. What would have been great is if we'd gone back to the last one and included that lot in the zone and still said 650. But no, what we did was we carved it out. So it would fit into this. What we're doing is we're saying this particular person says it's okay. Next person come in, well, they're going to say it was okay for that person. Why isn't it okay for me?
I have a question. Is that accurate? Are we requiring him to subdivide this if we make the zoning change?
No, you're actually requiring him to come in with a subdivision plan.
What is
If he wants to.
What we're saying is, if he were to subdivide that property, it has to go through a subdivision process. It can stay the way it is forever.
I don't think we can compel him to subdivide.
But if he ever wants to leave 4 lots to his kids, he's got to come in and do a small scale subdivision.
Exactly.
But that's how it is.
Okay, he has the right to do that. If we leave it the way it is, there's not a subdivision, there's one home.
Or he has to come in at some future time and try to rezone it.
Right,
So
right.
my question is, I'm sorry, am I interrupting? No. Okay, my question is a follow-up, so I think you'll like this question. If we go 5 tonight, does that stop the developer wants to market? I can tell you the market economics don't warrant this being a subdivision today, a tiny one. This is not going to work, in my opinion, and I have some background. However, in the future, there'll be a point at which that'll make economic sense. Does us zoning it as RA5 today protect against another rezone?
Nope.
You can come in anytime to read.
Right. So
why change it?
If
Why
it
not
has,
leave it the same for now?
why not change it?
Yeah, why not change it?
Because right now, if we leave it the way it is, it continues to keep that rural feel on it. It doesn't automatically set it up to, hey, I got R5 back, and he goes into the city and tries to get that additional space, even though the city is saying they won't. They won't go past the bypass. Well, who knows the story on the bypass?
Well, it's not it.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing today, is that this will protect. It won't. This will, let's keep it the same.
Commissioner Smith?
in regards to threats or anything by putting in sewer. Down in the little city of Charleston, they have a developer coming in, and he's considering pulling a sewer well over a mile down to his project, and then another mile down to another project. If they're wealthy enough, the developer can put in the sewer, and that's what I'm trying to prevent. If they are granted the 5 acres and there's 5 homes, that's much better than, I don't know how many homes you can get on there.
They could put 1 per acre in the county. If the city zoned it in, then of course there could be 6 acres.
Quarter acres or whatever. That's the point. And they would have to be really wealthy to buy the 5 homes away from them to develop it down to small acres, and that's the thought. And Riley has, you know, part of the rights of ownership of how you deal with your property, and it's going through the right process. So
The environment down there is kind of like that already. The 5 acre environment. There's homes dotted around in there.
all those
And you know, the environment does fit. You know, if you get over across into the wet zone, then that's a different environment down there. It's all moisture and stuff. So I guess I'm same as I was before. I'm for this, of making it the RA5, if that's what he chooses to do. He can choose to leave it 1 house on 20 acres, or he can choose to put 1 house on 5 acres. And I guess I'm okay with that. I'm with Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Rigby on that we have an opportunity here to create a 5 acre, which a lot of them, I think Mr. George has stated he likes it the way it is. He likes his property. He's not interested in building more homes on it.
But I bet at one time it was 160.
No, I don't ever remember.
This was 5 acres.